Okay. Where am I going to start? On one hand, I want to test this shotgun mic setup that I have. And on the other hand, maybe I should be talking about what I'm thinking of doing on this channel. And I've been thinking for quite a long time, years actually, about what and if I want to do something on YouTube. I watch a lot of YouTube videos, and a lot of it is about gear. I have to admit, about cameras. Although I'm shooting this on an 8-year-old Canon 650D, or the T4i as they call it in America. Yeah, I watch a lot of videos about gear and gear review, photography, and audio stuff as well. But I'm really not a big buyer of equipment, and it's still I managed to acquire a lot of little photo and sound equipment pieces over the years. Maybe I just should talk a little bit about myself and who I am. I'm the founder and CEO of a design company called Syntax, which is a fairly successful company here in Amman, the capital of Jordan, where I've lived almost all of my life. And I've been running this company for the past 21 years. And before that, I did something similar. So I studied architecture, but basically I've been doing design and branding consulting and digital consulting for the past 30 years. And during the pandemic, which is still ongoing, but here in Jordan, the government took some really strict measures, and our lockdown was very strict. And now the economy has almost completely reopened again, maybe earlier than other places, and we feel quite safe. It's interesting that during this lockdown, I started teaching myself some new software skills. And this whole issue of what I should be doing on YouTube resurfaced again. And I also started a spring cleaning session of my office where I'm sitting right now. And I'm still surrounded by boxes and by stuff I pulled from the storage that has been sitting there for a decade and has been accumulating for the last 30 years of my career. So yeah, I'm surrounded by pieces of my work, graphic design work, magazines, branding work, all sorts of papers and memories and books and things like that, but also gear and equipment. And during the pandemic, and I work from home anyway most of the time, so working from home was nothing new to me at all. But time and the sense of time was a bit different, and I actually got a lot of joy learning new software skills. I taught myself a little bit of Blender to teach myself proper 3D modeling for the first time. But also I got a lot of energy and joy actually from pulling my old equipment out of the boxes. Some of it is really old. I mean, this is probably people my age would recognize this. It's a Canon XM2 or GL2 as it's called in the States. It's broken. And this was a this was a really professional, kind of prosumer camera that I bought, I think, in 2003, 2004. I mean, for me, that was really a professional piece of equipment, and I really thought that I wanted to go into filmmaking besides my design work, and I had all these ideas for documentaries and other kind of video projects, and it never really happened. And the time wasn't there, the energy wasn't there, and my work is quite demanding. And my company grew in the early 2000s from a few people to 15, then 20 people, and so on, and that kept me very busy, actually. So yeah, anyway, so this is a piece of equipment here that kind of like breaks my heart, that I did not get proper usage out of. And I have all these DV tapes. Some of them are home videos, and some of them are beginnings of documentary projects that I started and never finished. So yeah, I have a weird relationship to this whole concept of video making, and here I am again, wanting to kind of do something about it again. And I think I am kind of a publisher at heart. I always say that I got into design and also into technology, not because of my study of architecture, but actually because I was into publishing magazines and fanzines in the 80s, and also then in the 90s. I was active. I was professionally active. My early career was very much focused on publishing, and especially technology publishing. I'll talk about that maybe in the future. But I got a really interesting start of my career, even while I was studying in publishing. So, and I like to spread information. Maybe I don't think that I'm a storyteller per se, but more of like somebody who likes to inform. I was a blogger for a long time until kind of social media took over, and we started writing on Facebook more and more. But that was also a kind of an act of publishing and spreading information. Lots of people still remember my blog, at least like in my social circle here in Jordan and maybe elsewhere as well. So yeah, so here I am again, and again. I was once joking to someone, saying that my hobby is not photography or videography or filmmaking, but actually watching YouTube videos about that thing. And it's unbelievable how much content I consume in that field. And of course, you look at reviews of new camera gear and all kinds of equipment, and all the generations that came. All the generation of DSLR cameras, and then mirrorless, and all the new announcements that come out, and you get this feeling that yeah, if I only had that, if I get that camera or something like that, I have more energy to actually do something regarding filmmaking or YouTube. And in my case, because I'm really not a big spender on equipment, the camera that I'm shooting, here, on shooting this video on is from 8 years ago. I also took a decision that what, I'm not going to buy any new major piece of equipment unless I start doing something with the equipment that I have. So with this GL2 from 2003, I got a shotgun microphone from Asden. It's an Asden SGM 2X, discontinued model. I pulled it out of one of those old boxes. It got some use, of course, over the years, but now I have it hooked up to the camera via an iRig it's a preamp that is basically made for mobile phones, but with an adapter you can adapt it and connect it to a DSLR. For lighting, I'm using a softbox that I bought, and which gets a lot of use for my design work when I do a little bit of photography or product photography and things like that. So I use that. But there's all these kinds of little bits and pieces, lenses, adapters. Here's another preamp. This is an M-Audio preamp that I used when I started a podcast in 2005, for example, and I did, I think, eight episodes of that. Another one of my abandoned kind of publishing projects. Honestly, I'm still figuring out what to do on this channel. If I should be, talking about my design career, the last 30 years, probably I'm going to do something about that. And, showing some of my old work and my first portfolio, which I also pulled out the other day, again from one of the cupboards. I also noticed that I think there's a lack of design-focused content on YouTube. There are channels that are kind of more educational. There are channels that are kind of more cover maybe like conferences and things like that, but maybe there's a niche in design content that I can cover. I still haven't decided, and I think I still need some time to decide that. But it's also interesting that I have one of the videos on this channel that I did recently was one about how to use the Canon webcam utility to basically live stream, or to use the to use a DSLR as a webcam. And so yeah, it's kind of gear focused or software focused. So I'm not really kind of talking about design or publishing, but again talking about the tools. And it's, it seems to have some relevance. I mean, for somebody who hasn't published a YouTube video in years, and that was one of the first videos that I did last month or a little bit before, and it got 400 views and comments and people appreciating the content, that the information that I shared. So that kind of like mini response is actually interesting to me and quite encouraging, in fact. But I don't think I want to do a channel talking about gear. I'm not a gear reviewer, or I'm not even a professional photographer to be able to judge, equipment. I'm a hobbyist at best. But yeah, I think kind of the main thing that I really kind of want to bring across in this video, and I think I've been kind of all over the place here, is that I think a key concept is that I'm not going to buy anything new until I've done something with what I have, whether it's microphones, whether it's cameras, whether that it's this old camera, or even some of, I have one oldish action cam that I can use a second camera as well, and all kinds of mics. Also, as I work from home most of the time, I'm also thinking of using my garden and my home, my house, as a backdrop for some of the videos that I want to make, and some of the kind of stories I want to tell about design, and maybe about other things. It's a nice challenge just to to use what you have, and what we have, what many of us have is amazing. Even our phones. I have an iPhone 7 still, 7 plus, which can, can take good video as well, if you think about it. You don't need the latest stuff. Yeah, when it comes to lighting, a softbox and some simple LED lighting that I have, and some IKEA lighting which I'm using in this room, should be enough to be able to bring across a message, or to tell a story, or to share something about my career and where it's going. So yeah, it's still a weird period of introspection. Finally, during the lockdown, I was actually making more progress than I'm doing now. I think business has gone back to semi-normal, and we're having to deal with clients and with projects, and of course we're having to deal with the economic fallout from the pandemic, which is not easy for any business owner. So that's keeping me busy, and I keep thinking that during the weekend, and it's now actually weekend here in Jordan. So I always think that maybe during the weekend I'll do a video, or I'll start kind of the formal planning process of this channel, what I want to talk about. But yeah, I mean, during the weekends there's family stuff, and sometimes you just want to take a break and chill a little bit. So I don't really get closer to my goal of finally doing what I want to do on YouTube, or actually thinking about it. So I don't know if I'm even going to publish this. I'll have to think about it. See if I can maybe edit it down to something that people can understand. And maybe, I don't know, maybe invite some dialogue or some advice from some of you out there. I did a couple of videos that I did were live streams, and it kind of forced me to just go live and do something. And this one is a recorded one. So I think I can be a little bit more thoughtful in the editing process, and yeah, we'll see. Okay, let's see how this turns out. Let's see the original intent of doing an audio test, how that is turning out. I have to give it a good listen. And let's see if I can make a video actually out of this stuff. Okay? Bye.